Welcome to beautiful Southern Nevada, home of one of the most famous cities in the world, millions of permanent residents, and millions of palm trees. Well, good morning. So we're going to talk about over-pruning palms, and I get it. There are questions. Over-pruning, like, what do you mean over-pruning? What's the big deal? Who cares? After all, the more they take off, the better. I hate doing it anyway. Besides, if they cut more off, does it just last longer? Well, those are a lot of good questions. Let me ask you a question. No, I mean you, actually, a question. How do you look? Do you like your appearance? I mean, you look like maybe you're getting a little long around the edges. When's the last time you went for a haircut? Been in the salon recently? I know, it's a lot of money. It's hard to get an appointment. Tell you what, I'll do it. $5. I can cut your hair, not a big deal. I take care of it. I got the tools. In fact, I'll do a heck of a job. I can take 90% of the hair off the top of your head. I'm just gonna buzz it right off. I'll get you done, no time at all. Take almost all of it off, you'll be done. So, would that be a good value? Getting more for your money? I mean, you're gonna look stupid for a while. In fact, you're gonna look ridiculous for months. But aren't you getting more for your money? Isn't it going to last longer? Is that really what you want out of your appearance? Well, your home is your appearance too. So over-pruning palms is not always a good idea. We're going to talk about why palms get over-pruned, what goes on, and the real cost of trying to save money by over-pruning palms. So here's a sorry sight. Big, beautiful canary, over-pruned, hardly anything left. Kind of a shame. Beautiful palm tree. Messed up by someone who was too lazy to do the work the right way. So here are some California palms that have been over-pruned. You can see that by doing over and over year after year, the results are that the fronds get smaller and smaller and decline to the point where this palm will soon be dead. So this is an example of over-pruning windmill palms, Trachycarpus. You can see they just run out of energy. No fronds, no life. Just become a big dead stub. Someone thought they were doing a favor over-pruning these things, and they're simply just fizzling out and dying. This is a cross-section of the palm heart, or meristem, right here. This is where all the growth happens as the fronds develop and come up through the middle out this way. The fronds on the edges, as you see, come down and feed into the body of the palm, storing the starches and sugars that create the body mass of the palm. If too many of these fronds are taken off, there's not enough feeding going on here, and the palm will tend to taper and narrow as it runs out of energy. So when we're talking about the health of the palm trees, it's all about feeding the heart of the palm. The fronds up here funnel down and feed the heart. This is where the growth is happening. This is what builds body mass. It's the mass to support the entire tree. So where this becomes important, as I'll show you over here on this Washingtonian robusta, right, a Mexican fan palm. This part of the trunk here is stable. All the growth is happening at the very top of the palm tree. That's where the heart is. That's where the growth is happening to build the body mass. Conversely, if we step back here to my beautiful pine, right, Pinus roxburghi, this tree has a big crown with lots of points feeding it, and they're all coming down here into the trunk. So all of those starches and sugars and nutrition from the crown up here is coming down into the tree, being stored in the roots, and is enlarging year after year, right? Just like the growth rings on a tree, that's what that is. The entire living tree is getting bigger year after year after year. So 20 years from now, this will be much bigger, right? Conversely, back to my Mexican palm, you see with this one, we have a certain diameter here. This was created years and years ago. The growth is happening there. So 20 years from now, this will be the same diameter because there's no growth happening here. This is why it's so important not to over-prune, because you only get one shot at creating a good, healthy body mass to make a strong, good-looking palm. Okay, so let me show you something real quick. So that was all of about 5 seconds. And I cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fronds off. So cutting fronds off with a chainsaw isn't time consuming and it's not that hard. It's a lot of work to do all the cleanup and it's dirty, dangerous work, but it's fast when you just buzz them off. So the challenge is to get past all of these spines in here to get the fruit out. It's up on the middle. Because I've got to cut this out, but then I also have to pull the fruit free from the fronds because I'm leaving the fronds to keep the palm head healthy. Okay, remember I told you I'm going to tell you the dirty little secret about why palms get over-pruned? It's these guys right here. These are called acanthophyls. Call them thorns, spines, spikes, pokies, bleeders, whatever you want to call them. They're sharp. You probably can't see them so well here, but if I put a little relief behind it, you can see how sharp these guys are all the way out. So here you can see half the challenge is getting the date heads out of the palm. When the head is full, the dates are stuck up inside in the crown, which makes it that much harder to get them out. So here you can see having to reach up to get these date clusters out on these date stalks that are 6 feet long becomes a bit of work in it itself. Once again, it shows the challenge of getting the seeds out from the middle of this palm head. The worker on the backside has got an angle to try to reach that last cluster of dates, but they're up high in the middle. That's what makes it hard to get out. So much of the challenge is getting the date heads come out of the fronds as they're tied up. That heavy load has to be shaken free from the fronds. I try to control it. This date head he's removing probably weighs about 60, 70 pounds. Tied up in 3 or 4 fronds becomes quite a challenge. These palms were pruned and crown cleaned yesterday. They're kept full to look beautiful until next year when they'll get their service again. All right, so now we're going to talk about the high price of saving money. Let's say you've got a beautiful home, worth X hundreds of thousands of dollars. You decide to class up the front by having a couple big, beautiful date palms installed. So you go out and you find someone who will sell you these palm trees. Let's just assume they're $10,000 a piece, right? $20,000 to class up the front of the house. Now, all the numbers I'm giving you here, they're just made up. So don't be serious about whether they're accurate. I'm not adding inflation, not doing those costs. We're just talking concept. So you add these palms to your place. Well, the neighbors across the street, they get jealous, and of course they want to clean up their place, so they go out and do the same thing and invest $20,000 in date palms for the front of their house. Well, after the palms have been in for a couple of years and they're established, it's time to start pruning. So you go on out and you find someone who'll come prune the trees, but keep them nice, and he's charging $200 a piece or $400 to have your palm service that year. Your neighbor across the street, he says, I know a guy, I'll do it, he'll do it for $100 a piece. So he's only gonna pay $200. Well, let's take this out in 5 years, right? So in the next 5 years, you're gonna spend 400 times 5, $2,000 to have your palm serviced. Your neighbor only spends $1,000. The question is, after this 5 years of service, your palms look big. In fact, they've grown and they're taller. Now they're worth $25,000 because they've appreciated, but it cost you $4,000 or $2,000 to get them groomed that year. Your neighbor, on the other hand, had his palms over-pruned. They just don't look as good. They look skinny, they're starting to narrow, and his have depreciated. They're only worth $15,000 now. Let's take that at another 5 years. So again, another 5 years later, you spend another $2,000 to get your palms done, And there your palms are even bigger and taller. And now they're appreciated to $30,000, but you spent $4,000 in getting them to that state. Conversely, your neighbor 5 years from now, where these are, if they keep getting over-pruned, they're starting to die. So now he's got the replacement cost of removing 2 palm trees, or maybe $3,000 to get those out. The palm value across the street is $30,000, so the replacement costs would cost him $30,000 to get back to the same place as you are. $30,000 plus $3,000 plus $2,000 of pruning and the loss of his $20,000 investment. He's lost $55,000. You've improved the value of your property by $6,000 because you had your palms done properly and they look good, and now you have a valuable asset. So here's our classic example, a big beautiful shopping center. Lots of date palms have been pruned and over-pruned for years. And here's our classic example. Here you see a palm tree that had been over-pruned for years and years. There's the penciling we talked about, where the trunk narrows where it's getting starved. After that, we can see the fronds became short and sparse, not enough on, and it eventually died. So that now all of those fronds are now dead. This palm is going to have to be removed, which means they're going to have an expense of getting the palm down to the ground, let alone this. How are you going to remove this root ball? This tight space, no room to dig. They might have to water jet this, which means a very expensive removal and the cost of replacement. It's going to be a significant problem to get this palm out of here and gone. So what is correct pruning of a palm? It's definitely not that. That is not a well-pruned palm. A well-pruned palm would have a nice 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position, like hands on a clock. Full head, nice and round, all the way down. Anything below that can be taken. Some of the other species could go a little higher, but we want to keep the head full. That keeps lots of energy going into the palm to keep it healthy.